When you feel that thing tugging at you, that is for a reason. And as long as you continue to ignore that, you will be ill mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. Here I am with a business that I prayed for, a business that I worked so hard for, yet I am so unfulfilled. One of the things that has always hindered me from just going all in with my dreams and my creative passions is these bills. It seems like we go through life consistently trying to figure things out, but what exactly is it? This one is dedicated to the millennial who needs to refocus after falling off. Let's peel back the layers and go beneath the seams. Life can be so complex. The human experience is far more expansive than what we can see, and we spend so much time just trying to figure it out. We put on makeup, nice clothing, and we go out into the world trying to hold it all together. When beneath those seams, we are being ripped apart. Some of the ripping is self-inflicted, some of it is because of the pressure of society, but all of it is limiting. Limiting in our quest to just simply be who we truly are. We're more complex than we give ourselves credit for. We fill our brains with popular sayings like, oh, it ain't that serious, loosen up, or just live a little. But life in itself is a deep, non-surface level experience, and sometimes it can be pretty serious. So often we force ourselves to only exist at the surface, never allowing ourselves to be fully exposed. We let the layers pile up until the pressure becomes too much to bear, and then we rip. Sometimes into shreds, and a lot of the times in silence. Beneath means to go below the surface, and seams are what are supposed to keep us joined together. Because we are taught, no matter what, you just have to keep yourself together. We create this image, never letting people in, never going beneath the seams. I don't know if we ever get the answers we expect from life, but I'm starting to find peace in the process of just figuring it out. Instead of forcing the complexities of this human experience to be hidden, let's peel back the layers and go beneath them. Beneath the Seams, a love letter to millennials who are just trying to figure it out. Beneath the Seams, the podcast, now available on all platforms. We made it back to this seat, the safe seat, the vulnerable seat, the seen seat, the tell all my business on the internet seat. We have made it back. It's been a long time coming, but we're back. This is the seat and the space where we get personal, where we peel back the layers and go beneath the seams. I always say beneath the seams is my love letter to millennials who are just trying to figure it out. And as I made my way back to this seat, I kept asking myself, what exactly are we trying to figure out? When I first started creating content like this back in 2019, I was deep in a season of trying to figure it out. I had just been fired or laid off or, girl, I can't even keep up. One of them for the upteenth time. And I was creating content and working with brands. And at the time, I was a beauty and lifestyle influencer. And I felt like, and those things I still enjoy, but I felt like that type of content was fluffy. I started in this space before it was as popular as it is now. And so as more people entered into the market, it became about so much beauty, aesthetic, style. And I've always been a rather deep person. And I felt like the way I was showing up online didn't reflect all of the parts of me. Like, I'm going to put it on. So y'all going to get this fashion. Y'all going to get this style. I'm going to beat this face down. So y'all going to get these looks, okay? Face cards never, ever going to decline. But there's so much more to me than what meets the eye in terms of the way I express myself, the way I experience joy. And so I was longing for deeper conversations and connections within my online presence and within my personal brand and my community. And so Beneath the Seams was born. It was back when IGTV came out. It used to live as a video series on Instagram TV, and y'all loved it. I loved it too. It is very much one of my favorite piece of things that I've created. Y'all know I think I'm one of the most creative people in the world. And so I love it. I found myself back in a similar space recently, late into last year. And that rebirth kind of me recreating this series in podcast format. Around August, September, I was very much in a creative rut. And I was trying to figure out how to get out of it. It seems like we go through life consistently trying to figure things out, but what exactly is it? Is it peace? Is it joy? Is it financial freedom? Is it love? It may be all of those things, but I want you to ask yourself, what is it? What is your it? During this time of me going on a creative reset, I would sit and I would constantly ask myself, what exactly is it? Like, girl, what's wrong with you? What is it? And now don't feel pressure to come up with your own answers or, reasons. But I just want to share this moment because it changed everything for me. And these things will vary as you grow and as you evolve, your it will change. I think in this season, my it is creativity, trying to figure out my creative freedom. I've been trying to figure out how to use my gifts in ways that empower other people, help other people, all of those things. But frankly, in ways that provide a lifestyle and a living for myself. One of the things that has always hindered me from just going all in with my dreams and my creative passions is these bills. The fact that, it is much easier to just go get money from somebody else's corporation. And so I will put things on the back burner because I wanted to be able to pay my bills. I wanted to be able to provide for myself and meet my basic needs. And so I abandoned this dream. Beneath the Seams for me was so good. And I had people who would literally tell me, that is so good. Like, you guys resonated with it so much. And then I stopped because I felt like this is not helping me pay my bills right now. And I didn't stick it through for the potential for it to even be able to do that. And it's now that I'm realizing you got to get some things out creatively without it being monetized immediately or sometimes ever, because it's more than the money. This for me is so therapeutic. I know that it helps other people. And so for those reasons, I had to get back centered so that I can bring this back. Okay. And so that's the journey that I've been on. My it in this season has been trying to figure out creative freedom. And it's deeper than just being able to create content that I love. It's the ability to express myself in ways that don't suppress who I really am, both on and offline. And to me, this applies to people who have gifts or passions that are outside of the traditional creative fields as well. Yeah, my doctors, my teachers, my attorneys, y'all are creative as well. Everybody. I'm talking to y'all too. I look at creativity as an existence, not so much as an art. Creativity, in fact, is an existence. To be alive is to be creative. Every thought, every feeling, every experience is a result of creation. Creative freedom for me is the ability to have my ideas make an impact without the influences of outsiders. And outsiders aren't necessarily people, but just outside influence in general. I don't want to have to make a creative decision that's influenced by money, time, algorithms, economy, opinions, any of that. Implementing ideas is an act of obedience. And y'all, this podcast being on hiatus, even though it was an IGTV series back then, has been an incredible act of disobedience. I went through a period where I was physically ill. Like, I literally felt physically ill. I kept thinking, what is wrong with me? I just couldn't get out of bed some days, extreme fatigue, anxious thoughts. I would sleep all day. I would wake up, do a couple of things, go back to sleep. I would cry a lot. And I just couldn't place what was wrong with me. I remember crying out to God out loud in my home, what is wrong with me? Now, mind you, I'm still functioning. I'm doing client work. I'm taking calls. Like I'm doing all of the things. I'm showing up to bat. But on the inside, I'm crying. I'm dying. I'm literally miserable as I was functioning through this season, showing up for everybody else but myself. I would even in my personal life be still on the phone, cracking jokes with my mama, showing up to friends, birthday parties and social events, all of the things. Like I was still living my regular life. But during those alone hours, I was mentally and spiritually ill. I was empty, so much so that it manifested in the physical. I literally got sick. It's now that I realized I was bleeding from the outside in. So I've been a full-time entrepreneur now for 3 years, since 2020. At the end of 2024, it'll be 4 years. And more solopreneurship than entrepreneurship. I don't know. I go back and forth with my beef with those words, but we'll talk about that on another episode. But I have been, every dollar that I've made, every coin that I have collected has been on my own accord for the past 3 years now. And it wasn't until at the end of last year where I realized I was unhappy. I remember talking to one of my friends on the phone and I was like, I need to just say this because I knew she wouldn't judge. And I was like, I don't want to do this no more. I was like, she was like, what? I was like, this business. And she was like, Kayla, you mean to tell me this business you worked for, prayed for, manifested, you don't want it no more? And I was like, exactly. I don't want it. Take it back. Where do I get a refund? And that's when it was made painfully clear to me that I was unhappy. And it wasn't because I didn't necessarily enjoy what I was doing. It's that I had become so good at helping people bring their creative ideas to life that I was suppressing my own. I wasn't giving birth to any of the creative ideas that I had in my mind, and I wasn't rebirthing or, I had abandoned ideas that I once was executing. I wasn't exercising my own creative freedom, and that's why I was miserable. I started to feel so ungrateful, and that really messed me up because I never want God to think that I don't have an immense amount of gratitude for the way he loves me and the way he looks out for me. But I started to think, here I am with a business that has reached the coveted 6-figure mark, a business that I prayed for, a business that I worked so hard for, yet I am so unfulfilled. I started to feel guilty. At the seams, everything looked okay. But child, if you unzip just one little layer, I was bleeding from the outside in. Every single thing on the outside seemed together. To other people, I was doing it. I actually remember, and to myself, I think I had tricked myself to think I was doing it too. I remember I had friends who've known me for a while. They would say things like, I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. You are making money. You figured it out. You're doing what you love. I remember this very specific conversation with my friend Jonay. And she was like, I remember the days where we was sitting in, my living room in New York and you were going through it in corporate and just, sick of all of the ups and downs of that. And she was like, look at you now. Like you really figured it out. She said, I be looking on the internet like, I'm so proud of my friend. And in that moment, I confessed to her, girl, I don't even like this. I remember, she was like, I remember when you were fired, look at you now. And I was like, look at me. I think I've always done a really good job at presenting well. I'm going to always be together. You see the material. But on a serious note, I've just always done a good job, like even in my darkest days, of presenting well. And so a lot of people don't know. But in all fairness, I don't think I even knew. I had to go through it long enough to identify what the problem even was. I just knew that something was off and that I did not feel like myself. I didn't feel happy. And it was way different than just I'm having an unhappy day. It was a being of unhappiness. And that's when I knew that I had to do some work to figure out what was going on. So I nodded in that conversation with my friend Jonay. And on the inside, I'm like, no, I'm not doing what I love at all. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoy having clients, serving clients in a creative capacity, helping people implement their ideas. But what I love the absolute most is this right here. Using my voice, speaking, tapping into my creativity via this art form. Ever since I was a little girl, that's what I saw for myself. I've always enjoyed presenting on camera, creating, taking pictures. I had so many of the little Polaroids growing up. Like, this was always a path that was very clear to me. I get these visions and these dreams of seeing myself speaking on stages and speaking to crowds. And so this seat is where I feel like I really belong. Making sure that no matter what I'm doing, I'm always tapping into my creativity in a way of being on camera or video production. And I loved what I was doing some moments, but I just didn't really enjoy it. So let's stay there for a second and talk about the difference between loving something and enjoying it. Loving something and enjoying it. This concept in particular was crucial during my journey of figuring out what was wrong with me. Just because you love something, that doesn't mean you enjoy it. I think when you love something, you have a passion for experiencing it whole, complete, right? Like, I love trying new restaurants. There's a difference between when you enjoy cooking. When you enjoy something, you understand the process. So you may love trying new restaurants. That just means you like to eat. You may hate cooking. That's the process. You don't enjoy that. And so while I loved doing certain things, because I think to love it is to have passion for it. But when you enjoy it, you really are consumed with and find enjoyment in the process. I think there's a big difference between loving and enjoying something. Just because you love something, that does not mean you have to enjoy it. I think when you love something, you love experiencing it whole or complete. You love that thing. But when you enjoy something, you enjoy the process, the ins and outs, the how it all comes together. So you may love trying new restaurants, for an example, right? But that doesn't mean you enjoy cooking. You love the final product, which is the good food, but you probably don't ever cook because you don't enjoy the process of making it all come together. And that's what I realized about what was happening in the way I was showing up. I find enjoyment in this entire process, from the lighting to the writing, the producing, the speaking. It's work, yes, but I really enjoy all of the little layers that help it pile up. When it comes to my business, I love it. I love helping people get a real result. I love when you get to implement an idea that you've been sitting on because of my help. I do not enjoy the processes and the day-to-day of running a business. Now, I'm gonna just have to suck it up and do it, right? Because that's just a part of it. And as I grow, I will continue to figure that part out. But I use those examples so that you can understand mentally where I was at. If I'm gonna be working on this thing that I love, but I don't enjoy, I gotta have some enjoyment all up and through too. I cannot just do the thing that I love. So what I enjoy in terms of the process of it all is this. And so me abandoning this completely and not creating my own content, not creating things that brought me enjoyment was the biggest mistake that I could have made over the past couple of years. So take inventory of the things that you love and the things that you enjoy. I can love serving my clients, but I may not enjoy the day-to-day tasks that come with that. I could love my man. I ain't got one, but send somebody my way if you know somebody, because okay, that's another episode. But I could love my man, but not enjoy him every day, not enjoy being around him sometimes. So take inventory of the things that you're doing that you have told yourself or wired yourself in your mind to view as something you love, and really see if you enjoy the process that goes along with loving that thing. The capacity that I had to have for other people limited the capacity that I could have for myself so that I can release my own ideas. Now, I'm still serving clients because I love it, right? I do love doing it. But now I understand that I cannot do one without the other. I've completely revamped the way that I do it so that I am more fulfilled. And I still 100% believe that helping people is a part of what I'm called to do. But I have to remind myself that that doesn't look just one way. This is something that does not give you an immediate result, but I know for a fact that it helps people too. So I am supposed to be doing this. My voice, the way I think, my personality, those are gifts from God. That is not by chance. It is very intentional. It is unique design. The way you think, the way you express yourself, your voice, the way people receive you, all of those things are gifts that were specifically given to you by the Creator. And that's a part of how you make your impact. So often we are taught to think that the way we make impact in the world is through learned skills. You go to school, you learn this thing, and you go and be that thing. You have that career, and that's how you make impact. When you can make impact with the God-giving talents and gifts that have nothing to do with you having to go and get some type of formal education or have some type of lengthy career with years of experience. When you feel that thing tugging at you, that is for a reason. It is your gifts that create influence and impact. And as long as you continue to ignore that, you will be ill mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, until you start to really stop ignoring those callings. You will be ill. When you're meant to do something, you can't really escape it. It don't ever really leave you alone. You never are really at peace until you are doing that thing. It wakes you up in the middle of the night. You can't start your day without thinking about it. And sometimes, in my case, you start to literally feel sick without the thing. So I went on a creative reset during this process. I had to go through the process of unlearning everything that I knew about everything about success and what it means to really have happiness and financial abundance and all of what it took to achieve this. I had to rewire my brain. I scaled back on the business during this time. And y'all know the less clients, the less coin. And I'm a girl who loves her coin. So that was very challenging for me, but it was very necessary. I simply couldn't continue to fulfill client work without personally fulfilling my own. And this was really scary for me because I had proof of concept that if I use my gifts, because the way I use my gifts professionally, that's a part of it as well. But if I use my gifts to serve others in the form of having clients and running a business, I know that I can make money. There's proof of concept there. I know that if I do this, I can make money and I can take care of myself. I can provide a living. If I start to serve my creative spirit, there's no guarantee there that I can make money and provide for myself. And that's the scariest part of it all. That is what limits my ability and desire. And I feel like with so many of us as millennials, we don't want to be broke again if you've been broke before. And if you ain't been broke before, you don't want to experience that. And so it's very hard to get out of that mindset. My personal passions won't make me money right away. I mean, they could because God is God, but it's not promised. And that's what kept beneath the seams from coming back. The conditioning and the rules and the way we were raised and socialized to think that you can't stop doing what's working. And I listened to that. That's what was working for the business, but that's not what was working for me. So while I was on this fast, I ditched following the rules. I eliminated a morning routine. I stopped setting revenue goals, just all of those little things that you are taught to do. I even unfollowed a couple of people, some of the gurus, all of the stuff, all of the things that was penetrating my mind. And I wanted to really listen to God and myself, so that I can figure out what worked for me. I got really intentional about centering myself with my own thoughts, and this helped me hear from God more clearly. And what God said to me was, stop playing with me. That's how God talks to me. I don't know about y'all, but God was like, stop playing with me and stop playing with yourself and go do what I told you to do. Go do what you know you are supposed to do, and I'm going to take care of the rest. So here we are. This is a faith walk. This is an act of obedience. And I'm back. I'm back to Beneath the Seams. I am back to sharing in this space and getting out of my comfort zone. So, to the millennial who is listening and is also in a space of trying to do what pays the bills and do you too, my prayer for you is that you free yourself from whatever outside influences are keeping you from doing that. You deserve to experience enjoyment, not just love, as you fulfill God's calling on your life and the way you're supposed to show up in the world. So I hope that you find your way back to whatever chair is suited for what you want to do. Life is so precious, and we never really know how it's going to turn out and what's going to happen from day to day. But one thing that we do know is that we only get one time to do it. And I've decided that I'm going to do everything I want to do in this one time. I don't know that we get other opportunities, and I don't want to take the risk of not showing up to bat. I don't want to take the risk of at least giving it a try and seeing how the movie ends. And so I hope that in your journey of figuring it out, you take the risk, you do what's hard, you do what's necessary, and that you bet on you. I really think that's what God wants us to do. So in this podcast, you guys can expect candid conversations, confessions, cackles, and all types of unfiltered, deep, sometimes emotional, and just raw, real life talk from the millennial perspective. And if you identify with anything that I said today, I'm happy that you're here. You are my people. And I'm happy to reignite this ride and go on this journey with you again. Before I end today's episode, I talked earlier about how this was so well received when I did it back in 2019. And there have been a few people who've been very instrumental in the comeback of this series, people who, in my personal life, and even some people who aren't, who just remember it and were like, that was it for you. Like something about that was just really, really you. And I just think you should do it again. I mean, people who would not let me stop hearing about it for years. And that's what I mean when I say it will bother you. Sometimes people will literally be a part of the bothering. When you're called to do something, you just can't really escape it. But there's one person in particular who I would like to acknowledge. When I first started the show, she said to me in person, she was like, that beneath the seams thing you do, that is so good. She was like, when I first saw you do it, I don't understand how she was like, it's so good. I wish I had done it. I don't understand how that wasn't my idea. And so mind you, if you don't know the person, it may sound crazy. Like, what you mean? How come it wasn't my idea? Because it was mine. But to know this person is to know that that was the highest, form of flattery and very complimentary. It was her way of saying like, yo girl, that was dope. Like it was so good that I wish I had thought of it. And she was also very instrumental in making sure that I just went after doing things in my life. I mentioned that I started in this space as a content creator, and I started a blog back in 2012. And she was one of the people who I went to when I had the idea for the blog. And I remember being like stressed out and just not knowing if I should do it. And she said to me, Kayla, you want to start that blog? Start that shit. Like, just always very motivating, very, very confident, making sure that other people saw what she saw in them and saw things that they may have kept suppressed within themselves. Just always pushing me personally to go get it, go do it, go beat it. Always reminding me that I'm a light and that I'm that girl. And she herself was all of those things as well. And so when it comes to Beneath the Seams in particular, I down the line want to have conversations with certain people, and she was on that list. And unfortunately, she passed away in November, and so that won't happen. But I wanted to be able to, since I'm back in this seat, give a thank you to the people, and especially her, who have been so loud about making sure that I show up in this way. And she was definitely one of those people. And so I would like to dedicate this episode to her, Brandy Elizabeth Mallory. Our time together was so short-lived, but you were so impactful on not just my life, but all of the lives of the people that you touched. And I won't forget it. I got work to do because of you. And I promise to continue on the torch and the light that lived inside of you and that you instilled and helped shine within me. And so I just want to personally dedicate this episode to you. And I cannot wait until we cross paths again one day. So we made it to the end of the first episode. What is given? How y'all feeling? I'm so happy and overjoyed, really, truly, to be back in this seat. I can't wait to keep having these types of conversations. And I want it to be a community experience. This is my love letter to millennials who are just trying to figure it out. So write me back. We could be pen pals. I want to know and keep the conversation going in the comments. What types of things are y'all going through as millennials, and just where in life are you working through things? And if this was helpful to you, the best way to show your love is to leave me a comment, like, subscribe, rate the podcast, leave a review. All of those little things truly go a long way. So if you are in a space where you are figuring it out, which most of us are, my prayer is that you at least find peace in the process. I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye.